The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. Thanks again to everyone who has joined us on the webinar today. This is the second in our Lunch and Learn series of webinar, and we have another two to come next Friday and the Friday after. Again, we really do hope you're finding these useful and worthwhile. If anyone actually missed the first one, it's up on YouTube now, so you can find it by just searching for Socrates Lunch and Learn, and it should be the first result that you see there. Today, again, just quick introductions. My name is Donald O'Neill. I'm the Marketing Manager for Clonwilliam Health. I'll be emceeing today, and again, as per last week, I have Louise Murray with me, who is our Socrates Support Team Leader, and she'll be leading the demonstration today. Louise is suffering from a bit of a cough, so please excuse her if there is any coughing, and hopefully there won't be, but we can't guarantee that. As per last week, we'll be taking as many questions as we can after Louise has finished her demonstration. So if you have any questions, there is the question tab in the webinar control panel that should be on your screens now. So if you do have a question, type it in there and we'll do our best to get through as many as we can. Today, Louise is going to be talking about the Server Manager for Socrates, resetting passwords and controlling permissions for different users. So look, we know, again, you're all kind of busy and all ready to get lunch, so I'm going to pass things over to Louise straight away and we'll get cracking. So Louise, I'm just going to give you the control now. It should be popping up for you.
Great. Thank you.
Perfect. I can see you now. Yep.
Lovely. Good morning or afternoon, everybody. Right. So the first thing I will go through is logging on to Socrates. So I want to show the password issue that we get a good few calls about. So one moment there, just wait for this to log on. So if a user has reset their password recently, or it's asking them to reset their password, etc., then you need to have your password needs to be something. It's basically getting locked by people when they forget their password. So I'm just going to log on here incorrectly many times. So you get 5 attempts to log on, and if your 6th attempt when you try and log on, it will say that your password is locked and you need someone to unlock it for you. So from there, it's asked me 3 times there and it's closed out. So if I log on for a 4th time, try and log on. So it keeps just saying your password details are wrong. And then if I try for a 6th time, it's come up with a message saying this account is locked. Contact a system administrator to unlock. So to do this, you do this in the Socrates Server Manager. So in the Socrates Server Manager, it's usually located on the server machine desktop. Some people have it over the years, have got it installed by calling up and just asking to get it installed. So when I close out of this, so I can't log on to the Socrates Server Manager with my username and password now because it's locked. So someone who does have permission to open up the Socrates Server Manager needs to log on and unlock it for you. So I have an account here that I can use. So I just fill in the username and password, and then over here on the left-hand side, I've got user accounts. So under user accounts, I have on the left-hand side, I have a list of all the users here. So my user here, Louise, when I highlight it, the details fill over here on the right. And then this account has been locked for too many failed login attempts. Click to unlock. So I click on the unlock button. And now when I try and log on, it will allow me. So if I just go in here and try and log on now, I remember my password. So So I'm able to log on now because I got it unlocked. But let's just pretend that I actually don't know what my password is. I can, in the Socrates Server Manager, I have over here on the right-hand side, I've unlocked it. So if I want to reset my password, I click on Update Password and I fill in the password that I want. So the basic requirements that you need for a password is it needs to be at least 12 characters long, contain at least one number, contain at least one capital letter, and at least one special symbol. So that would be a full stop, a $, an @ sign, a euro sign. And yeah, so there's obviously people have to remember a lot of passwords. So it's a good idea if when you're creating a password, there's just certain ideas that might help people to remember their password, because a lot of the time people have forgotten their password because they just forgot their password. The numlock on their computer was off, so the password contained a number and the numlock was off. Or cap lock was on, it stayed logged on. There's also like your special symbols that you have on your keyboard. It can differ depending on what language it's set at. So for example, if you have an @ in your password, it might be different depending. It looks on the keyboard that you press. If you press Shift and the @ sign, that will come up with @ but in actual fact, if your keyboard is in a different language, it might be Shift and the number 2, and that brings up the @ sign. So those are the different reasons why someone might forget their password or don't know what it is, etc. So in here, when I'm filling the password, it needs to be, so if I just type in a few letters and I go update, it will hover. Anytime you see a red exclamation mark in the Socrates Server Manager or anywhere in Socrates, if you hover over it, it'll explain why the password isn't working. So I've filled in letters. So when I hover over it now, it'll say that I need to fill in a numerical character, so a number, and I need to put in a special case character. So here I'm just going to fill in a correct password now. So that has all the minimum requirements. So 12 characters long, number, capital letter, and a special symbol. So if I go update there now I have reset my password. So the users can, most of the time when people call up, they call the support desk to unlock it. But if you're like a practice manager, or if you have access to the Socrates Server Manager on your machine, or you have access to the server, you can log on to it and unlock the person and reset their passwords. To make it a bit easier for people with their passwords, because they're putting in their password and they think, oh, I'm filling it in correctly, why isn't it working? In the next version of Socrates you'll get out in the next few weeks, it'll add in a few extra features that will make it a bit easier for people. So I've got a screenshot of what it looks like. Where is it now? Here. So when someone fills in their password, they fill in their username and they fill in their password. So they can't see obviously what their password is because it's hidden. But there's this little button here to the right of it, or will be there in the next version, that when you click on it, it'll show you, it's called a peek button. And when you click on it, it will come up with, show you what the password is for a couple of seconds, and then it will disappear. So that will make it a bit easier for people, so they'll know when they look at the password, oh, that's wrong. I've got my cap lock on, everything's in capitals, or my numlock was offside because the numbers aren't there. So they'll be able to work out easier what exactly is wrong with the password they're filling in. Yeah, so that's that. So I'll just minimize this here now. So I'll just go back to the Socrates Server Manager and I'll just show you the different sections of it. So the first thing that we're looking at here is user accounts. So under user accounts, so if you've got locums coming in, or new doctors or new nurses or new admin staff, this is the program that you use to add the new users. Over here on the left hand side is a list of all the current users. If I click on this little show inactive users down here on the left hand side, they will appear red over on the left hand side. So you can, so when a locum comes, you can inactivate them afterwards, and then when they come back, if they ever come back, you can reactivate them as user. So I want to create a brand new user. So I'm going to say it's a locum. So you fill in their name, Dr. Okay, so first name, surname. You don't need to fill in the address fields. You can fill in the address if you want, but it's not mandatory and you don't really need it. Permission group. So in here, we've got a load of them here in our test one. So I'm going to say that they're a doctor, and user type, they are a doctor. So once again, we've got loads of them in there. You won't have that many in your drop-down list. So if you're a permission group doctor, you can set certain permissions for each type of user. So a doctor, nurse, admin. You can have it so that they can't access certain sections. Maybe you don't want locums to access the accounting reports or something like that. So you can set permission restrictions on that. So I'll show you that later on. And then you got your user type. So this person is female. The other mandatory fields that you don't need any of this. Telephone number, you don't need any of that. Since this person is a doctor, you need to fill in a medical counselling number for them. So I'm just putting in some random numbers there. And down here at the bottom right-hand corner, you have update password, reset password, username and password. So I have reset password. I have the different options of when I want to reset. So after a certain period of time, so today we're setting up a user. In a year's time, it'll ask them to reset their password. So to create the password for them, you just fill in the name, whatever username you want. So some surgeries like to put in the name of the person. Some people like to put in the initials. Some people put in the surname, etc. So I'm going to put in a password here. So if I click on save here, it'll tell me once again, if I hover over the red exclamation mark, what I need. 12 characters, at least one uppercase, one lowercase, one numerical character, and one special case character. So I'm going to fill all that in. So it's if you're creating a password for somebody, it's a good idea there's different ways that you can remember passwords. Like you have these passphrases. So what they are is something that the person might easily remember. So for example, I like going to the cinema. They're going to remember that because that's something that they like. So in that, you can put in I like the cinema and put in some numbers and a special symbol. It might make it easier for somebody to remember their passwords. And then we click on save. And now that new user is created. I actually forgot to show you one thing here. If I just go back to Lisa. When the person, I'm after creating a user or a password for them there, but when you click on force reset, if you want to, so you fill in the password for the person, but you don't need to know their password and you want them to have a secure one, so you can get them to reset their password when they first log in. So I'll show you that there. So update. So now when I log into Socrates now as Lisa, at this moment in time now, it's said to them reset their password. So this is the same, so this is saying the password has expired. So surgeries passwords, they expire every so often, just for security and data protection, that you can't just keep using the same password. So from here, you have your old password. So the old password is the password that I've just created there. And so I can fill that in. And then my new password, once again, my password needs to have the minimum requirement, 12 characters, symbol, number, special case, etc. So if I just fill in, I'm not going to fill in the minimum requirement. I'm going to fill in not that. So I click OK. And when I hover over, once again, there's an error saying it needs to be a certain character, needs to have all this, it needs all the minimum requirement. So if people are getting stuck on this because they don't realize they need to hover over the exclamation mark. So you just hover over the exclamation mark, it'll show you. In the newer version of Socrates, it will come up with a cancel button here. So you can cancel it and then try again. But once again, it'll ask you to reset your password. So from here, I'm going to log on as now I can log on now and I have set my minimum requirement. Let's accept that and close out of that. So that's for creating users and resetting passwords. Also, in the newer version, when you put in your password and ask you to reset it, the red exclamation mark will pop up for it's automatically by itself for about 12 seconds if there is a problem. So people will clearly understand why their new password they're putting in isn't working. So that's users. The next thing I'll show you is permissions. So over here on the left hand side, you've got permissions. So as I was saying earlier, you can set up permission groups for a doctor, locums, nurses, etc. So you don't want the locum to access certain reports. You don't want them to access account reports, for example. Maybe in the admin staff, you don't want them to be able to access blood results or something like that. So under permissions, you have your permission group. So to create a brand new permission group, you click on permission group there and you type it in. So I'm just going to show you the ones we've already got. So permission group, these are all the ones that we use when we are testing stuff. So if I just go under doctor, I look at the doctor permission group. Permission category. So there's certain sections in Socrates, as you know. So we got the admin console section, antenatal section, etc. So when I click on admin console, I have certain things that you can, this person has access to everything. This group, these permission group people have access to everything. So they have full access to their related organizations, immunizations, etc. So if for some reason you don't want them to access appointments, you just change it from full access to no access or read only. Read only, you will be able to see the button, but it will be grayed out. So no access just means you will not see it at all. Now, obviously, you're going to probably want the doctor to see the what am I looking at?
Appointment.
System types. You want to, yeah, you want them to see that. So there's certain things you might want them to look at. Maybe the reports. So under reports, those are my options here in the bottom. Reports, I don't want them to be able to see the letters reports for some reason, and you can say no access and click on apply, and then they'll have no access to that. And then we'll just say full access, because I don't want to mess around with that. So the most obvious one that you'll probably be doing that in is locum. So for locum users, you probably don't want them to be able to see accounting reports, because why would they? And then you can click on apply, and then when they log into Socrates, they won't be able to see the tab for accounting reports. Yeah, that's permissions. Over here on the left-hand side, then we've got services. So under services, there's certain things that users can look at. To be honest, mostly it's used by us because we set up most of the things on the support desk. So for example, your SMS messaging is in here. So if you wanted to use text messages, this is the area where it gets filled in, and we do that on the support desk. Drug updates, that's automatic. It runs at nighttime. That's the settings for that. You don't really need to look at that. Appointment alerts, that is used for, you have your text messages. That's fine. Most people use them for alerting people that they have maybe blood results back or something like that. Appointment alerts can be used, not a lot of people use them, but they're used for, you can get a text message to go out the day before for patients to say, don't forget you have an appointment tomorrow at 2 p.m. in the surgery. Please call the surgery if you're not going to turn up so we can give the appointment to someone else. Well, that's a very long message, but you get the gist of it. So people use that. You can have that set up so that it will, if you have certain appointment types, just go into it for a second. See this here now. So I have it set up as you have an appointment. If I just preview on it, you have an appointment in main surgery Wednesday, the date, the time, please call if not available. So we've just put in some information. So you can change that to whatever it is you want. You can get it to go 2 days beforehand, 3 days beforehand. You can set it so that it will only be used for certain doctors. So maybe you don't want the nurses' appointments to go out for some reason, or you don't want the doctors' ones to go out. You can stop them from getting the text messages, those patients from getting a text message. Appointment types, so maybe you only want to send off a text message to certain appointment types, like bloods or ECGs or something like that. You don't want all text messages for all the types of appointments. So that's that. So what else do we have in here? Client notification. We've used that a few times in the past for updates. If you wanted to kind of send out a group message to everybody that's logged into Socrates, maybe it's you have a meeting, go to the meeting room, but you don't want to send an individual message to everyone. You could say, time to stay. I could say, all right, I'm actually going to minimize this for a second. I'm going to Socrates and I'm going to log on. So I'm logged in there. So I want to show you what happens when I send out a client notification. So when I click on client notification, how long do you want this message to pop up? I'm going to say 60 seconds. You can put in I think the most you can put in is 999 seconds. Oh, you got loads, 99,000. So I'm just going to put it up for, I'll go with 30 seconds. Message, reminder, meeting, whatever you want to say. And then I click on send. And down here at the bottom left-hand corner, when people are logged in, it'll come up, it'll stay up there for 30 seconds. Reminder, there's a meeting. And so people will, oh yeah, I better log out and go to that meeting. The other section you have in here is maintenance. Once again, there's not really anything that you really need to look in here. The one thing that I want to show you in here is the options. Now, to be honest, there's so many options in here, I don't even know what they all are. So it's a good idea not to really click on anything unless you know what you actually are doing. So under maintenance, I want you, for the Socrates Server Manager, you might want it so that only certain people can access the Socrates Server Manager, log on and add new users, change permission types, change passwords. So you can have the Socrates Server Manager installed on the machine, but not all users can log on to it. So it's turned off by default. So if you want to turn it on, you go into Server Manager, you go to Maintenance, you go to Options, and if I scroll down the page here, under Services, it's near the bottom, I think. Yeah, there's so many settings in here. So Service, it goes Server Access Restriction. So at the moment I have it turned off, so everyone who has a Socrates logon can log on to the Socrates Server Manager. So I want to turn this on. So if I click on that and I go Save, and I X out of the Socrates Server Manager, and I log back in again, sorry, and I try and log on now, it's not allowing me to. It says logon details invalid, the account has no server access. So the only one by default that's working is the Socrates support one. So if I log on there now, under user accounts now, I have a tab up here called Server Access Account. So under Server Access Account, I have System Administrator. So that's my Socrates account. So if it's decided that you want to have certain users access to it, so maybe Dr. Louise, Dr. Sheila Lehney, then those three people can log on to the Socrates Server Manager now. Nobody else can. Yeah, that's pretty much it there. Yeah, it's the only kind of setting that you kind of really want to look at. There's loads of other settings in there that I just suggest nobody touch, because yeah, just don't touch them. Yeah, that's pretty much it really on the Socrates Server Manager.
That's great, Louise. We've had a couple of questions come through, so we'll just fire through them before we run out of time. First things first, how do you know if you have Socrates Server Manager on your machine? Do you just search for it, or should it be on your desktop? Like I see it there, nice and neat on yours, but if I haven't seen it before, how would I find it?
Yeah, so it only is usually by default installed on the Socrates on the server, and some people call up to get it installed. So if you don't have it, if you don't have the Socrates Server Manager icon on your desktop, then if you just give the support desk a call, and we can install the Socrates Server Manager on it for the person. so the practice manager or whoever it is, and then they can do the stuff that they want to do then.
And then to access it, it is just as simple as clicking on that icon from your desktop and going from there.
Exactly, yeah. So just log on with the person's username and password. So by default, it's not turned on by default for anyone that it's blocked for users. So if the next step then is they want to block users, then they can do that in the Socrates Server Manager themselves.
Okay, and essentially all of the functionality you've covered today is in the Server Manager, really. So you would need that if anything that you were talking about. Okay, great. Then going back to passwords, is it possible to have passwords that are less than 12 characters?
It is, yeah. Actually, I forgot to say that to you. I had the website open and everything.
Okay.
On the website, so the passwords were created, the 12-character long one, because that was the bare minimum. That was the kind of criteria that the data protection .ie suggested that they have. So if I go down this website and I scroll down the page down here, they've just put in bare minimum of 12 characters. It needs to contain letter symbols, etc. So technically it is possible that we could change it in the database so that you could have, the other option is 9. So we can change it so that the bare minimum is 9 characters, but it's suggested that you leave it at 12, but it's kind of your option. If you decide to want to change it to 9, you can, but we'd have to log on to the database to do that. So technically it is possible, but we always suggest or advised to leave it at 12.
Wouldn't recommend it. And I think that's just sort of all around, the shorter your password is or the simpler it is, the easier it is to actually hack it. So, the longer, the more complicated, the better. Another question just came in there. How can you remove a person from the Server Manager? So say if someone isn't working there anymore or like an open locum, can you remove them completely?
Yeah, I should have shown that there. So Lisa Smith, the person that I added in earlier, she is, highlight her name, that's her details there. So she's finished up now. She's only been here for a few minutes, but she's gone. So I highlight her name, the details fill over on the right. I untick the active button and go update. So now she's gone. So it doesn't remove her entirely because you still need to keep a record of the fact that she logged on and all the stuff that she's done. So the user is always there in the background. Okay. So if Lisa ever came back, we click on the show inactive users and we just search for Lisa down here at the bottom left, or just go through the whole scroll bar and try and find her. Highlight her name, tick the active button and click update and she'll be reactivated. Now if a person has been gone for quite a while, it's a good idea to reset their password because people forget their passwords after a few weeks. So if she's gone for a few months or a year, she's definitely going to forget her password. So we just click on update password and you can fill in the new password. And if you want her to fill in her own password, once again, you click on force reset and then it'll ask them to reset their password when they first log on.
Okay, that's great. And then just around password expiries, what's the longest you can set it before people need to change it?
Yeah, so the default one we kind of use is 1 year, or the other option is 5 years. But any new users we're kind of adding now, we're probably just leaving that at 1 because 5 years is quite a long time. So technically the longest you can have it is 5, but I suggest people don't set them at 5. That's quite a long time.
Yeah, better to kind of keep them updated and prevent possible threats. Okay, Louise, that was great. I don't think there's any more questions, but if anyone does have any more questions, you can feel free to pop me an email and I'll do my best to answer them. And if not, I will ask Louise to answer them. And sorry, just one more came in there from Carmel. Just saying if she deletes inactive users, would it delete anything that they had inputted into a chart?
No, it doesn't remove it. Actually, one really important thing that people should not do is, say if there's a locum coming in and the person's name, so Lisa here, for example, if you have a locum coming in for a day and then another locum's coming in they're coming in for the second day, it's extremely important that people do not highlight the original locum that came in and fill it in as the other locum. Because what will happen is, when I save that, everything that Lisa has done will rename to Dr. Joe Blogs which is not who was in yesterday, it was Lisa. So it's really important that you inactivate them. The information is still in their chart. It's in all the consultations they've had, etc. It'll be in on their chart. So yeah, just really important that you don't rename Lisa. You leave her as, you inactivate them and add the new user. So yeah, data is still in the chart.
Okay, that's great. Thanks a million, Louise, and thanks again for everyone else who joined us. We're sort of at the end of our time now, so again, hope you found that beneficial. We'll be adding it to YouTube by the end of the day, so if you want to look back on it, just simply search for Socrates Lunch and Learn webinar, and it should be the first or second result there. As I said earlier, we'll be continuing these on next week and the week after, so hopefully we'll see you again there. And thanks very much to everyone, and enjoy your weekend.
Perfect. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye bye.